So just note that Joyce will step across to his own right to Dubois' left hand. He'll feint twice with the lead hand before jabbing. Dubois actually slips that one, but then stays down the centre line. He looks to parry this jab, but it's too late because of where Joyce is throwing it from. Joyce has it in a position where he can just extend it just like that. There's very little movement. He doesn't show you it. It just comes from A to B. And again, he's down the centre line and he just doesn't have a defence for it. Here you'll see Dubois is centre lined and stationary, a sitting target for Joyce's jab. His hands are not in a position to defend himself. He cannot block, he cannot parry, and he's not moving his head or his feet. He's just sitting down the line of Joyce's jab. It rolls on. You can see that he's moving across now as this sequence of events moves on. He's moving across to the jab to the side of where it's coming from, making it all the more easier for Joyce to land at will. He's just all fight was moving across to that lead hand. Look, he's just walked straight into it. Now, obviously, the concern would be the right hand, but if you're getting peppered by the jab, you have to be able to move both ways and take your head offline. You have to do that. But Dubois just didn't have an answer to it. Put a few things here. The hand position of Dubois, both hands are not in a good position to defend himself. He's square of the upper body, and his head's not moving, and his feet are doing nothing at all. And he's moving again towards Joyce's left hand. And that is in part due to Joyce moving to his right. Joyce is stepping to his right anti-clockwise, that is forcing Dubois towards his left hand and then forcing him to take the jab because he's constantly adjusting his feet to the position of Joyce, who's happily moving him onto his own jab. Some of the problems offensively that Dubois faced on Saturday night was Joyce constantly moving to his right hand side away from his backhand. Because of that movement, Dubois was following him and either smothering himself, or when he was landing, Joyce was constantly moving away from his punches and he wasn't able to adjust his feet and set himself into a position to land more quality shots. You can see here he's landing, but he's squaring up, falling out of position, and there's never any plan to his work. It's just getting off what he can rather than setting things up off of a jab, off of a feint. And that was his difficulty on Saturday night. As you'll see here, constantly reacting to the feints of Joyce, the little twitches of movement. And when he did attack, it was so centre aligned and everything was having to cover such a distance. He was just landing bombs and then smothering himself because he's not worked on adjusting his feet as the opponent moves. Some context with regards to Saturday night and Daniel Dubois. First and foremost, I want to look at the fact that he quit, as they like so much to say on IFL TV and some of these other stations. Yes, Daniel quit. Yes, Daniel didn't finish the fight. And yes, it is frowned upon. But I've seen great fighters quit. And what I'm a little bit disturbed by is people within the professional boxing game almost mocking and talking like every fighter should go to death and be gallant and fight to the death. This sport ain't for everyone. And if everyone was like a Choro Gatti and Mickey Ward and the fighters like that, then they wouldn't be as revered as they are. Not everyone has that within them to be able to stand there and muster it up. The young man fought for around about 6 to 7 rounds with that eye damage. It was getting too much for him. He was struggling. I think personally, as I said before, possibly his corner could have pulled him out earlier whilst he was in a strong position. But at the end of the day, this isn't tiddlywinks. We understand that. But if that guy, Daniel Dubois, on Saturday night managed to make it to the 12th round, win, lose or draw, he would have been getting credit for a performance against the Olympic silver medalist who really in reality should have been a gold medalist. Because let's be real, Joe Joyce was robbed in the Olympic final. But either way, he's an Olympic medalist. He was in that final. And Daniel Dubois on Saturday night matched him for volume, for power. for desire. Up until that 10th round, it was nip and tuck. And it all came too much for him. But he was still there, going into the 10th round, winning the fight on the scorecards by 2 cards. Yes, one was fraudulent, let's be real. I had Joyce up by a round. But no one could really complain if Dubois was winning by a few, or whether Joyce was, or whether it was even. But the fact is, Dubois was given as good as he was getting in that fight. He wasn't having an answer for the jab, but he was still offering something in that fight. Let's be real. He was. But it became too much for him. I personally wanted him pulled out sooner because I felt that the eye damage, and I felt that what was coming was going to be a vicious finish to the fight. I felt that Joyce was going to open up on him and take him out, and I felt that if they could leave him in a strong position by the corner taking charge and saying, look, let's pull him out now and let him look strong to the British public by me pulling him out rather than him doing that. But look, what's happened. We have to deal with this. But I think it's reactionary. I think people are coming out and they're jumping all over him. At the end of the day, if he was able to get to the 12th round, win, lose or draw, he would have been getting praised. He showed a lot of good qualities in that fight, as well as the flaws in which you see when fighters have gut checks. He's had his gut check and he failed. He failed. Does that mean that he'll never make it? No. Does that mean that there's concerns? Yes. But ultimately, there needs to be some context. We're looking at a 23-year-old who's been matched relatively softly, who's only ever had 7 senior amateur bouts, and in those 7 senior amateur bouts and in those pro fights that he's had, he has never been in that deep. On Saturday night, he went in deep for the very first time and gave as good as he got until the 10th round against a fighter that is physically very strong and very tough. Some of those punches that he landed on Saturday night against lesser men, even at a certain level, would have probably caused a lot of damage to them. But Joyce isn't that normal guy. He's a boogeyman. He's not someone, I'll tell you now, there's no one queuing up to fight Joe Joyce, no matter what anyone thinks. Because Joyce is a dangerous fighter because of his engine, because of his size, because of his toughness, and because of that jab. Yes, he's sloppy. Yes, he can be outboxed. Yes, you can hit him. But he has other qualities. Things that real pros know are difficult. I've heard about the sparring stories with Joe Joyce and Anthony Joshua. You ask the people that know. They know the damage that he can cause and how he's been busting up people. He's a tough, tough man. And Daniel Dubois fell short on Saturday night, but to run all over him and piss all over him in his career at the age of 23 is absolutely daft and pretty much disgusting from boxing people. Now, whilst I've defended Daniel Dubois' performance and his right to quit, I will say this because I'm all about balance on this channel. Allegedly, and I've seen this over Sunday and Monday, there has been rumours circulating across different sources on the internet that Daniel Dubois has quit before. Allegedly, he has quit in sparring against Martin Bacoli and at Team GB. I don't know whether that is 2 different events or the same event. I'm unsure. But what I will say is that the sources they're coming from seem to be very near to the mark, and it would be weird for those to be saying that. But what I will say is that if this be true, it is what it is. Maybe there are people that do have that psychological effect that when it goes deep, they can't deal with it. And maybe Dubois is that type of person. But ultimately, I will say this, and I talk for the whole sport, that any man that gets in the ring has the right to reserve his judgment for his life and his well-being and his career. And if you don't like that, get in there and do it yourself. It's as simple as that. Because ultimately, you can't play boxing. It's dangerous. We know that. Anyways, if you like this video, please like it, share and subscribe and drop your comments below.